What's going on, guys? OSRS Quick Flips here, and today I got about a 40-minute video I made earlier, and I cut it down to about 7 to 8 minutes long. Basically, this is just going to be a voiceover, me explaining everything that I'm doing in the video. I will say that I made about 1.2 mil, maybe a little less within that 45 minutes. But then again, I was just putting stuff in it and taking them out as quick as I can, trying to get instant buys and sells, if that makes sense. Yes, normally you would leave them in longer, and if you want, maybe even overnight. But for the sake of the video, I was just trying to get everything bought and sold to make somewhat of a profit to show you it is possible to make money merching items, and you can make a lot of money. Basically, what I'm doing right now is I'm on the GE tracker, which you cannot see the screen. I do show it every now and then. But I'm looking for items to buy and sell, buy low, sell high. That's how it is. So once I find the item to buy, I'm going to write it down on my notepad. It's just easier for me, and I suggest doing that if not writing it on a notepad on the computer or OS Buddy if you have that. Just write it down somewhere. Make sure you write down what item it is and how much you bought it for and how much it says it's selling it for. And then if you sell the item, then you can put beside it how much you actually sold it for. That way later on you can go back and look whenever you see the item again. You can say, hey, I bought it for 8,000. I resold it for 10,000. But the GE said it was selling for 9,000, if that makes sense. So you're always making somewhat of a note about the items that you're messing with. As you can see, I'm always trying to keep a full invent spot with buying and selling items. I personally, I guess it's just OCD. I like to put the buys and sells on top of each other, but sometimes you get a whole bunch of items. You can't really worry about that. I think it's just easier to look at on the screen. Even though an item doesn't sell right away, doesn't mean that it's not going to sell and you're going to lose money on it. If you keep it in there for the price that it originally says, more than likely it's going to sell. And if it doesn't within the hour, you could probably keep it in longer and it will eventually sell. Now, if you're worried about losing money on the item, go ahead and drop the price a little bit. You can double check the GE tracker and see if the price has changed at all. And if it's changed a little bit to where you're still making money, I would suggest putting it in for that just to try to get it out a little quicker. Now, say the item has dropped completely below your buy price and you're going to be losing money on it. Go back to your notes and look to see what the GE originally said that you to sell the item for. I would put it in for that price and just let it sit until it actually sells. More than likely, that item is going to. Now, if it doesn't sell, don't worry. You won't be out too much money, if anything. Again, like I said, you can always just put it back in for the original price and get your even money back. I don't really suggest starting out just trying to low cut it and get as much back as you can, because in the long run you're still going to lose money and every single gold piece counts up. I mean, if you buy 1,000 of the Ceradom and brews and you undercut it from your original buy price just to get rid of them, you're losing 10 to 15 GP per brew, and that really adds up if you buy a bunch at a time. Now, there's a lot of things you can look at when you're looking at the GE tracker on what items to try and buy and sell. First, you can look at the PK items. People are always PKing in the different worlds of RuneScape, and you can think about that. First, of course, as you can see from this video, I do a lot of brews because brews are constantly buying and reselling. Then what takes apart is you got to think about other merchers. Merchers are going to be trying to buy those items and resell them. A lot of people aren't that experienced as others, and they may be undercutting it trying to get their money back. That's when sniping comes into play and you're trying to take that item away from them that they're undercutting. Then you can stick back in and resell it for the original sell price that the GE says. Now, going back to the notebook, just remember that you have everything written down and everything that you bought it for and everything that you sold it for. And of course, everything that GE told you to sell it for. GE tracker, that is. Say a few days from now, you're looking through the GE tracker and you see an item that you sold the other day, and you kind of remember making a lot of money from it. So you want to know what you actually bought it for and sold it for. Of course, because your history in the GE, if you have OS Buddy or another client, it's going to show you your history, but it's probably going to be filled up from other items. So when looking at your notebook, you can go back and try to find that item, and of course, it's going to tell you what you bought it for and sold it for. Then that's when you can really take advantage of the system and put an offer in for that price. Not necessarily, it doesn't mean it's on the GE tracker yet and nobody's even flipping or merching it, but you can have it in there so whenever the price does drop, you can snipe it for that price and resell it for maybe even more or what you had in your notebook. What I mean by that is, say you end up buying the item really, really cheap. Well, for the same price you did for a few days ago. It's nowhere in the GE tracker and no one's even worried about the item yet. So you have the item in your inventory and all of a sudden you find it in the GE tracker. You see that it's selling for a decent amount of price, but your buy price from earlier, you still bought it for way under that price that's in the GE tracker. This resale price is going to be a little bit more than your original sell from a few days ago, so you're actually going to be making a lot more money from the item just because you decided to wait and hold on to that item and resell it for a higher price. If that makes sense. I can do a full video about that later on, which will take a little bit longer just because I would have to wait longer, a few days, and record and all that other kind of good stuff. But it should be easily understandable. You can also take the time in consideration. If you're flipping around 8 p.m. and you're noticing you're doing some crazy good profits and making a lot of money from it, you can remember that time, and that could be a prime time for you to flip. That doesn't mean you don't have to wait for that time and you can't flip any other time. That's just your hot time to go flip, and if you want to make some good money, go back on that time and see what you can do with it. Now, a lot of merchers and people who flip all have certain items that they love to buy and sell. I'm sure everyone would agree with me, and that's just how it is when you're flipping. For me personally, I like doing the Dragon Harpoon, which no, it's not hot anymore. The item died, probably for me. But anyways, you're always going to have that one item that you want to try to buy and sell, and you might even try to buy a bunch overnight and resell it the next day. By that I mean you're going to have an item that you're going to buy and sell constantly. Anytime you want to put it in, it's going to eventually buy and it will eventually sell. And you'll have a certain price range where you make money from the item. You won't even have to look at the GE to see what it's buying for and selling for. You just know automatically how much to buy it for and how much to sell it for. GE flipping really is kind of a laid back, I guess you could call it a skill. Once you really get a full inventory or sell slot full and you're just waiting for an item to buy or sell, you can basically just sit back and watch TV or do something else on the computer, or if you have another account, get on and go play with that one. Maybe skill with it. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this video. There's not too much more for me to talk about. In the future, I am gonna be doing some live commentary also with my live streams. You can't really flip and merch the same item as me on the live streams as much as fun it would be, just because there's a 20-second delay, and that 20 seconds can make a huge difference when buying and selling an item. So if anything, you can come to the live streams, listen to me commentate, do my flips and everything, and you can flip for yourself. Just don't follow along with the same items that I'm using, because you might lose money from that. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys like the channel. If you do, slap a like, subscribe, and comment below. Thank you guys.